Hi everyone! Today we're diving into Het, the 8th letter of the Hebrew alphabet. Here's what Het looks like. At first glance, it looks a lot like hay. Even the sound seems similar. But there's an important difference. Hay is an open letter, which produces a soft, breathy H. Het, on the other hand, is a closed, connected letter with a much harsher sound, almost like a strong, throaty H, similar to the sound in the German Bach. One of the best ways to remember the meaning and shape of Het is by thinking of the Passover, specifically that moment when the Israelites placed the lamb's blood on their doorposts so that death would pass over their home. Het is a letter that represents life, and its ancient pictograph is a wall or a fence. It also connects directly to its numerical value 8. In Hebrew thought, the number 8 symbolizes life, but it also carries the idea of cutting something, and it relates to circumcision. In the New Testament, this becomes the circumcision of the heart, or baptism, which points to the death and resurrection of Jesus. We also see the number 8 in the story of Noah. 8 people survived the flood. Once again, it's a picture of passing from death into life. A fence separates the inside from the outside. Inside the fence, you're protected and safe. Outside the fence, there's no protection, and ultimately, that leads to death. Applying the lamb's blood on the doorpost and being passed over from death is the same picture, being protected. Life begins with blood on the doorpost, and only through the blood of Jesus can we enter into life. So Het symbolizes the grace of God, the good shepherd who builds a fence around his sheep and protects their lives. Those who hear the shepherd's voice live within God's fence, within his grace, where their lives are preserved. I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. The Hebrew word for life is Hai, spelled with Het and Yod, and it appears 120 times in the Old Testament. There's another word that sounds very similar to Het, Hata, the Hebrew word for sin. It means to miss, to go astray, to wander. It's the condition of failing to enter life through Jesus, the door of life. Living outside God's fence, outside His grace and protection, relying on our own strength. Another important word beginning with Het is Hen, which means grace. The angel of the Lord encamps around those who fear Him and delivers them. The phrase encamps around reflects the idea of Hen. It's the image of Emmanuel, God giving grace to those who fear Him, who take refuge in Him, who look to His face. He spreads His tent over them, dwells with them, and rescues them in times of trouble. In the Bible, grace is described as God shining His face upon us. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make His face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift up His countenance upon you and give you peace. Through Jesus Christ, that light has shone upon us. That's why grace ultimately points to Jesus Christ, the Word made flesh. And the Word became flesh and dwelt among us, full of grace and truth. The word dwelled here is the Greek skeno, meaning to pitch a tent, to encamp. The same concept reflected in the Hebrew word hen. So Het is a picture of God's grace, a grace that builds a fence, protects, and gives life. Once again, grace is hen, and that hen is Jesus Christ, the Word who became flesh and pitched His tent among us. And we can only enter life through Jesus, the way, the truth, and the life. So when you see Het from now on, remember the blood on the doorposts. This will make Het easy to remember. Thanks for watching. Don't miss the next one. Shalom!